Yeah, we're live? Okay, very good. So, okay, we talked about this, right? Don't let me down. Give us a very, very warm welcome. Yeah, it's very important. I have to instruct them. Okay, so welcome to Friday at 6, to the best talk show in Berlin. It's going to be awesome. Yes, we have Mo Moubarak here of Moberries, and also Melis, the beautiful woman here next to me. She will answer all your questions on Facebook that you might have when you're watching the show right now live. So if you write us a message, it will be Melis who is answering you. So give it up for Melis, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. So welcome to Friday at 6. Interesting people, exciting conversations, real insights, and cold beers for the audience, not for us. What is happening? Not going good. 3 guests per show. Our regulars here on my right side, Professor Heike Hölzner and decorated company builder Roy van Veen. And my name is Dirk Marseille. Our guest tonight is Mo Moubarak of Moberries. Mo grew up in a tough neighborhood in Toronto. His dad wanted him to become a medical doctor, but instead he moved to Europe to make it on his own. Now with almost 2 million euros in funding, he's finding golden nuggets with his AI-powered human resources tool, Moberries. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mo Moubarak.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you on the show, Mo. It's really exciting, but you will have to tell us first in short, who is Mo Moubarak?
Mo Moubarak is a guy that loves to get together with amazing people and powwow. I love to share energy. Like an example of that is I was watching Dirk behind the screen 4 or 5 years ago, and now I'm sitting at a table with Dirk. I feel like we made it, right? So it's always somebody who has a vision and says, I'm going to do everything I can to get that vision to turn into reality.
And powwow, you have to, powwow in...
Oh, that's the Canadian part of me, sorry. Native Indians, when we get together, you don't have a conference, you have a powwow. And so what that means is I don't want to just talk to you about business. I want to get to know you as a person. I want to know what your values and your standards are. And I want to find a way that one hand can wash the other, that we can build a relationship and go get that bag of money, like DJ Khaled says, together. Because I believe that relationships are the realest thing on earth. Shout out DJ Khaled.
Great. I hear so many people laughing already, but you're quite serious, isn't it? I mean, behind this beautiful explanation, there's actually a seriously driven individual.
Yeah, I think that you don't arrive at this table sitting with Dirk if you're not very serious about who you are. Plus, if you can tell, I really invest a lot in trying to stand out, because why be part of the pack, right? So I think that seriousness is just like a diamond. It's formed under pressure, what you're willing to do to get to your goal. But once you're sitting at a table with smart people who I look up in life, why not have fun? Enjoy it. This is the blessing, right? Is to get surround yourself with people who are better than you.
Wow. So tell us a bit more about the product, because Moberries, for the people who didn't follow the news, what is it all about?
So Moberries is about a better way, a new way of doing recruitment. It's really, we're differentiating ourselves by looking to a blue ocean and opening up our own kind of talent stream. I mean, everybody's been fighting for, let's say, doing acquisition over Facebook, LinkedIn, and the rudimentary channels, where we say that we've developed a smart piece of technology, a script that integrates with large corporates as well as startups, and it goes into their database, and every time you reject a candidate, it enriches that candidate's CV with feedback, and we know that person is live, they want to work, they're hungry to be part of the marketplace, and so what we do is just like a sports agency does for a pro athlete, we retarget you, and we find you quality leads in real time to try to help you gain leverage in one of the hardest moments in life, and it's finding your fit and finding your job. So if you're actively looking, come to us, and we're invested in finding you new opportunities.
So how does this exactly work differently than, you had this person before at a recruitment agency, they talked to you in person, they knew everything about you, they also had lots of partners, and they just helped you in a personal way getting through difficult phases of your career?
That's a very good question. First and foremost, I feel like it's criminal for startups to pay headhunting fees. So the first thing about us, we don't charge a headhunting fee, so no 20, 30% per head top. We've really established a SaaS model where you're really paying us to retain us. And if you compare that, if you were gonna go hire a junior HR manager, now with like Mindestlohn or minimum wage, it's about $1,500 a month, but a startup can pay us $349 a month. And based on all these companies that we have sharing CVs in an open marketplace, our system adjusts the search based on people that have opted in to our network from you. So essentially it's a way to do things at a very high level, but to scale. And so what we care about is a system that's able to grow with you and let you focus actually on talent and getting that talent into your hiring pool rather than actually just focusing on sourcing, right? There's only 24 hours of the day. People want to work 8 hours and the rest they want to, they want to have a life. So why should you be burning yourself on sourcing and finding the same candidates repeatedly over again?
So could you tell me something about the worst boss you ever had yourself?
Yes. Oh God, I love this. This is why I'm in this. The worst boss I ever had, I'm not gonna drop names because I don't want to make anybody famous for no reason, but I believe the worst boss I ever had was just utterly disconnected from the team. Everybody who wants to call themselves like an entrepreneur or I'm a co-founder of something, but really gets lost in the sauce, as we say, or lost in the title. But like my mother explained this, and I explain this to everybody in my team every day. Oh, these rapper microphones. Yeah. People are amazing. They're just like all these fingers on your hands. They're all very different. It's your job as a manager to be able to understand what these people are, what makes them tick. So what are their values, what are their standards, and how do you get them to work together as a hand? And the worst boss I ever had was just really focused on being a manager first and not really building people. I mean, come on, man. If you're making whatever amount of money and you can go get people some cake on a Friday or some juice if they've had like a long company event the day after. So really the worst boss, and I think it came down to this, was just utterly disconnected from his workforce.
And how do you manage that with software? I mean, if you build a team, you build culture.
Yeah.
So you basically scan someone's EQ, whatever. So not the intelligence. How do you do that with software?
I love that. I love that question. So what happens is because we're getting an insight in terms of all of the talent that you have coming through your system that you're processing. Really what we're doing is something in data called bulk processing. And so we're seeing all of the types of people that you've kind of rejected versus then you've accepted for matches. We understand kind of like, I don't want to go in this direction, but like dating, we understand where you have an affinity. And as soon as a profile lands in our system, we know it's actively sourcing. Our algorithm has learned over historic matches what has been an impressive match for that company previously, and it just streamlines that match, right? So the way to explain this to you is, for example, some companies like Amazon, who I believe is the world's leading company, but we can discuss this later, they don't necessarily focus on the frilly things like, oh, let's make sure you're happy or whatever, but let's drive the hell out of innovation, and that requires a tough person. So within 1 to 8 weeks, do I fit here or not? Can I be a self-driver? Can I be that? And I believe in the job market, it's just about really finding that right fit at the right time in somebody's life. And so to really summarize all of this is really by doing really good company profiling. And it's a dance. It's a tango. I'm always on the dance floor. I'm willing to dance. If that HR manager or that co-founding team dances with me just as hard as I'm willing to powwow, then we can make magic happen quickly.
But then still it's rational, it's a rational thing, so you don't take into account the emotional aspect of someone's personality, right?
Well, that's coming in the future. I mean, the thing about understanding really what we aim to do is we're an AI first company, but everybody nowadays, that's a sexy word, right?
Yeah.
But unless you have millions of dollars in the bank, you're not going to win that race. I mean,
that's the problem. I've been in Berlin this time for 2 days, I think. I still get spammed by Facebook and Google about stuff I was last week.
Yeah.
Those companies have 20 billion annual development budgets. Amazon is spamming me about stuff I bought with them 4 weeks ago. Also 20 billion a year on those budgets. So how are we going to fix the emotional part with like 200K's research and development budgets then?
Let me get into that. I think that as a founder, your product has to really embody your lifestyle. And so I've built a product where, like Dirk mentioned, I grew up in Toronto, shout out to the Six, and then I moved over here because I saw my opportunity. But my life, just like poetry, has really embodied my product. I went and I worked at various companies. So I'm very old school. I believe before you build your own company or do something on your own, go learn under a different person and somebody that's very different than you. So every manager I've had, and I can gladly say, all the way from Athenium Partners, Deal Gecko, the projects I did at Rebay, and even Metrics Monk, and then going into the HitFox group directly. Every industry I had a different type of manager, and it's like a football trainer. And the one thing that I took from that was I understood which one of them knew which of my buttons to press. And so the one thing that we're very focused on is not just getting a candidate, but enriching the feedback from the hiring manager. Why did you reject this person?
Yes.
Why was it a good match? Why do you think this is a hot candidate for you? And so when we understand that and we put it in a network, and a network, what makes us unique is we're working for all the companies at once, right? And so our main thing is the better we get that feedback, which goes back to the powwow and the tango, the better I can adjust the results, you know? That's the whole element of machine learning, blah, blah. Everybody's doing it, but really that's why we have Russian data scientists that sit in a room and they look like they're building rocket ships, right? Because every day my core thing is I want to drive you value. If I don't drive you some form of value, and the one thing is, this is what we have to understand, I'm not perfect. You know, I sit on a toilet just like everybody else. And so my job is to really understand, okay, sorry, excuse my French, oh, we messed up here, we effed up here, how can we fix this? How are we gonna go? And that's really what machine learning or stochastic analysis is the constant trial and error. And go back lastly to your thing is, I'm a guy that's sitting at this table just solely because of the fact that my emotional intelligence was able to get me here, right? And the fact of the matter is, it goes back to these fingers. There's people that are very much smarter than me in different areas, but I know how to communicate with them to create synthesis, right? And so, like, again, to wrap that up, it's really, I know who I was when I was building the product and to never lose touch of that, and how do we drive that value by using smarter people in our team and using these algorithms to really improve the search results on a daily basis. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So you just said that it was a deliberate decision to come to Europe or to Germany to build your company.
Oh yeah.
So what were the reasons? Why did you come here? And probably why is Germany a good beachhead market for your product?
I love that question. Thank you for that. Okay, so I believe history is cyclical. I believe that everything in history has already occurred. I think, Dirk, when you mentioned earlier startup founders who are paranoid about maybe somebody copying their idea, here's something to really take into consideration. Sorry about that. There's no such thing as a new idea, okay? It all comes down to who executes it. And my father, although my parents separated at an early age, my father was a medical surgeon who came to Germany when he was 16 years old after the war. And he ended up working with the UN, but this country gave him an opportunity after he grew up in a refugee camp in Syria, right? And so I looked at that and I said, whoa, that's incredible. And I never had that relationship with my father, but the main thing for me was, why are you so humble? You know, when you go to North America, you go everywhere. The French are known for their fashion, the Italians for their culture, everything. But Germany is known as being an amazing country for building dope products. When it's German made, like, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but if I'm looking at the rack and I'm seeing made in Japan, made in Germany, I'm like, wow, okay, these products deserve what I'm gonna pay for them, right? And so my whole thing was, you gotta in life put yourself in a position to be special. So if I'm just another Skittle in Toronto and you're just picking me out of the pack, it's like, okay, but I came to invest in here because I saw how let's say the black market, labor market wasn't properly mapped. I saw how the need for old economy was going to change. I looked at New York, which is my favorite city. I worked myself to one day go there, after Berlin, of course. I look at Berlin like a 1980s New York. We needed this innovation. This is constantly a city in flux. It's a city that's built on building amazing things. And it just needed to grow up. And I wanted to put myself in that position. I'm really somebody who, I look at where everybody else is going, and then I say, okay, let them go have all their blood in the water. I'm going to go in this other direction. I'm going to go try to build something out directly. So I think, A, it's the history of my father. B, the respect I have for this country. And I mean, look, I always say this to people. I say, Toronto raised me, but Germany and Berlin made me, you know? And so I showed up here, what you have to consider, I showed up here with only $3,000 in my pocket. And so I was able to convert that we're sitting at a table with Dirk right now. We're having this interview after we raised $2 million. I don't care about the money as much as I care what's driving this to, where's the next level? What's the next? So I hope that kind of answered it.
It did, yeah.
So how lucky do you consider yourself then in the end?
I believe that success is a measure of expectation, and you're only as successful and lucky as you put yourself in a position to be. I'm the type of person, as soon as the door opens, I'm like, okay, screw it, we've already done it. What's next? What comes next? I always look up. So right now, I don't feel lucky because I'm already thinking, like, the main thing that drives me, honestly, is we have a really amazing team right now. And I mean, teams are something that constantly are in flux or whatever, because you might hire a bad apple and you might have to get rid of it at some point or whatever. But the people we have, I have a fiduciary duty to make sure that these people all have long-term jobs. I'm not doing this so I can hang out at Soho House and tell girls I'm an entrepreneur or whatever. I'm doing this because I understand the heart of the hustle, and I want to make sure that everybody has a piece of history that they can go home and be proud about. So how lucky am I? I'm extremely lucky that I have graft, that I just don't give up, I guess.
So you don't go to Soho House?
No, that's not my vibe. But anybody want to hang out at my place, play some PlayStation, talk about some stuff, I'm there.
So if somebody invites you to go to Soho House, you say no?
That happens a lot. Unfortunately, in the world of business development, I have to ride with the wave, and so I will go, but I'm not necessarily going to be dancing up a storm.
I understand you. So, next thing coming up, crazy things recruiters say.
Oh.
Couple of questions to test your mood.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, what's your superpower, or what's your spiritual animal?
Okay, I'm going to shout out Sebastian Soika, which is my manager, and now he's running Expert.
He's watching.
Really will be watching. Sebastian Soika's everywhere at all times, just understand that. And he really put me onto the honey badger. Go on YouTube and check out a video of the honey badger. He's putting his head in a beehive. He's getting stung by a python in his face. Like, I grew up being the smallest guy in the room. I grew up, so I had to be like, what is my talent? I'm the most resistant. You can beat the crap out of me. You can insult me. You can say whatever, but I'm just going to keep coming back for that vision, So I hope that answers.
But you need the one with the Australian comments on it, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
of course. Hey,
only,
put it up.
the only honey badger that counts.
Hey, if it's not Australian narrated, why are we watching it? Like,
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I'm off. I talk to myself still, and I tell you, it's only weird if you answer yourself. I'm like off the chains weird. Like, I'll hang out at the Gucci store on the weekends. It's like things I do to inspire my mind. I don't think it's fun to not be weird, but I don't think you want to be like creepy weird, like I'm sliding into girls' DMs. I'm just like, I take pride in being the weird one that I can then take the knowledge and distribute it to my homies, so to empower them.
Final question. What book do you think everyone on your team should read?
The 48 Laws of Power. I think it's very important to understand who you are in an ecosphere, how to exert power, what is power, how do we contain it, how do we maintain it, and how does it help you evolve? And so one of the examples that I hate the most is when somebody comes in and it's like, yeah, I have this startup, but we need to hire a sales guy because I'm not good at sales. Then you don't have a startup, dude. Because you don't understand how to exert yourself in this room, how to make people care about you. The one thing I hate are people who are like, oh, yeah, well, they don't like me or whatever. Well, try being me, a Muslim Arab guy from Toronto. So, like, and I'm walking around Europe, I mean, check out my day at the airport. It'll blow your mind. And so the whole vision, if people don't care about you, they don't like you, it's your job to show them that you got value to make them care. And that to me, I think the 48 Laws of Power is a must read because it ties together history, lessons from psychology, and it really just puts you on this frame of mind to how can I get it done.
You still go to the US or?
No, I'll be honest with you. I'm somebody, like I said, when I call a vision, it's like Babe Ruth calling a home run. I saw my sister 2 weeks ago, first time in 8 years, and I told her this when I
18?
in 8 years.
Yeah.
So I told her when I was 21 years old, before I came to Germany, I'm 28 now. I told her, listen, I only come home when I'm a self-made man, and that's the rule. Like my brother's had a nephew and everything since then. It's hard for me, but I understand who I was and what I am now, and I have a fiduciary duty again to my team. And I'm not going to go anywhere without making sure my team and everything is set up. And so it's just something, it's like a goal I set in my mind, and I don't go home if it's not raining champagne and roses, pretty much. It's just visions, right?
So speaking about sales,
Yeah.
one of your first customers, the way I see it, are investors, of course.
Correct.
And you've been invested by the HTGF, which
Yeah.
is Germany's most active and also a most important seed fund. in our audience today, we have a lot of science-based startups, and I'm pretty sure that they would appreciate some kind of insights. How were you able to convince the HTGF to invest in your project? How was maybe the process communicating? Some tips, tricks?
Okay, I'm gonna explain it really quickly. It's like wine, okay? If you go and you buy gas station wine for €2, don't go and compare it to the $200 bottle of wine. And the reason why I say this now is my co-founder, who's like my brother, who's our CEO. I don't even like the word co-founder, but we can get into that later. Him and I, we've been doing this since we were in a dorm room together. So we looked each other in the eyes and we said, we're gonna mash these people up, and we're gonna do this, and we ride or die for this. So now nobody's gonna get lost in their feelings and say, well, I've got a girlfriend now, I wanna quit and whatever. And so that graph of over time, what you do with pitching and with making people care about you is you're constantly walking into a room, you're constantly perfecting the pitch. The paranoia of the marketplace is adjusting, the bigger player, you perfect that pitch. You go, you bring your first investor on, oh my God, I've already pitched this to 5, 6, 7 people before him. He thinks it's crap. Okay, tear it down, go in there. So it's really about knowing also who the investment manager is, knowing their investment thesis, and knowing what's gonna set you apart, but being confident in your pitch, right? And the main thing about that is, that's why I tell people this, you never win with half measures, and that goes back to the $2 wine. You know, it's wine, but it's not amazing, right? And so if you're all in on something, half measure doesn't win. So my co-founder, we live together, we work together, we're all in, we're ride or die for this. And so by the time we'd gotten to the table with HTGF, who are super smart people, because usually government people are like, slower, but HTGF are on a level like no other. You know, they're doing something for this ecosystem as well as for the city, all the cities in Germany that hasn't been done before, which is taking old economy money as well as government money and refunneling it in a smart way. And so our investment manager really rooted us out because she's got an amazing background, and you know, I think she just saw it in us and really how we'd gotten the product so far on so little to that point. And really we had a case and point to make about every kind of question. And so preparation, right? It's like, it's constant. If this is your lifestyle, you want to be in this, it's you constantly are at it every day, every night. The way I describe this, lastly, to wrap this point up, is startups aren't for everybody. It's like the life of an artist, okay? During your life, you're going to be miserable. You're not going to necessarily love it, but you're going to be driven by this passion and opening up this lane and showing people your art. Why was Basquiat addicted to heroin? Ask yourself these things, right? But now, one of his paintings sells for a couple $100 million, right? So after, it's the legacy. So that's why when I used to be younger, I used to look at it like, okay, the payday will one day come or whatever. But now I don't even care because I've opened so many of these doors. I look at it as now I work for my legacy, for my death. So like my nephew that come in, he'd be like, yeah, my uncle's not a loser. He does this and that, and he's living in Germany.
So if we break it down, you would say it's passion and preparation?
Preparation, passion, preparation, and also the stomach lining. It goes back to how good are you at taking a shit kicking, which means how good are you somebody saying no to you or saying your idea sucks, it's crap, whatever. Oh, look at the little Arab guy, he's coming in again. You know how many people I pitch? I worked for so many companies over the course of my career that by the time I'd walked in to pitch a few people, he's like, what are you selling me this week? You know, and I'm like, no, this one's mine. Don't worry about this. But also is what was earlier said, which I really find solace in, is the strength in your founder. You're only as good as your weakest link. And I draw a lot of strength from our CEO, as well as our tech lead, our CTO and product lead, Andre, because these guys are much smarter than me. And so I'm the guy that can walk in and just be bazooka, bazooka Joe, let's go, let's light this room up, right? But if I know that these guys are behind me and I'm playing with the 95, 96 Bulls, I'm gonna win. It doesn't matter because the course of our careers was our CEO, he was in the venture capital realm and he'd helped kind of scale companies worldwide. So he'd seen what it takes to be successful. Our CTO, he'd built multiple companies over. And the second thing is none of us had an attitude. So here's the thing, when we were getting started, you pay me to do a job, I was getting paid during the day. And for the first, I would say, when I arrived in Germany about 2009, 10, I was still doing my job after work hours, but I was averaging probably 2-3 hours of sleep a night because I would work on the proof of concept for Moberries. So I'd be getting paid like $1,200 a month, and then I would live off $600, and we'd put in $600 into like a proof of concept and go to India. I got burned a couple times, yeah, but that's what I mean. But you work to get into the room with the right person that by the time HTGF was sitting in the room and asking us questions, like, oh, we've already heard this. And so it's preparation, finding strength in your founders, but also being ride or die. That passion has to be there. If it's a waning passion, you're not going to succeed.
So, how was it to see your sister again?
Seeing my sister it's almost like, you know, when you put a bookmark in a book, and then you're like, oh my God.
Long time ago.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, or you put something in your favorites, you favorite it, and then you forget about it in your browser, and then you're browsing and you're like, oh shit, I forgot about this website. So it's amazing because I think that in this whole atmosphere, and I really like that you brought up that question, we forget the strength that we get from people that love us unconditionally. Because this is a market that will beat the crap out of you if you're not, you know, that's normal. And I love it, though. I'm obsessed with it. I love that. But to see my sister and to see how far she's grown, like the job she's doing in Canada, she works for the Canadian government, really brought me strength. And really that reassurance, like, hey, I haven't seen you in a couple years, but I respect what you're doing. And it just makes me want to go harder now, to be honest.
And maybe, Roy, you can also follow up on that. Is that we had in Berlin a company in HR that sold to smart recruiters recently. It's, of course, a very big market, but it's also an exceptionally hard market to go in. You've explained us a little bit how you want to also use artificial intelligence in order to make the product really, really good and cool. But do you think that you could have done it without, like, also your investors being your clients in the end? Do you think you can also find partners outside of this inner circle?
So let me break that down into two kind of segments. I look at what we're doing, and congratulations to all the companies that get through exits, because every company's exit or success is all of our success. That's the one thing we need to understand. For me, what's really key is I like to see the person, who they are. And so if you're even competing against me, sometimes in life it's hard to kind of befriend somebody because you're going through the same thing or you're going for the same thing. But me, I'm the type of person is I know what I've had to do to get here. And if you play the game with finesse and you're a class act, I'm only going to respect and admire you. From our investor end, I think that people need to understand that not everybody's cash is the same. And so, for example, I don't like to say his name very often. He's a very humble guy, but for me, Michael Brem is the godfather of all of this, because I used to go to my room at night when I come home from work and be like, oh, I saw Michael today. He said hi to me in the hall. Damn it, why did I do that? You know, it's like when you're dating that girl. And so for 5-6 years, I'll even tell you a quick anecdote is, you know when LinkedIn makes you that suggestion, hey, you should add this person on your LinkedIn? My biggest goal, there's a picture in my room hanging there. It's like, no, one day Michael will add me to LinkedIn. He's going to know who I am because he probably gets thousands.
Yeah, I mean, for the people who don't know him, he co-founded StudiVZ.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the Facebook of Germany.
Yeah, and actually I wouldn't even just pigeonhole him in that, because since then he's been on an avalanche of deals. So if you really want to know who the godfather is, because he's super humble, he's not doing this for the PR level, really look up Michael Brem, because he's made a lot of people in this.
He lives in Munich now, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
he has a family, but for me it was, without Michael Brem, I don't think we get as far as we are, because we looked at him, it's almost like a professional sports team. You're Dutch, like an Ajax, right? Where Ajax goes and grabs the best youth, whatever. And we worked purposely in his portfolio companies 5-6 years. My co-founder, he was his assistant directly. And so you have to breed that relationship, you know? And also me, constantly, like I said, I had to show him the value of seeing the value in somebody like me, right?
But without their support, do you think with the approach that you have, can you also attract other customers outside of their network?
Of course, because we have that ride or die mentality. Like, we're going to figure it out. It's not a question of like, oh no, it's going to break or whatever, we can't do it. It's like, no, because every day what you don't see is that I'm on a call with somebody in Asia, a random call or this or that. So I'm always thinking, what's the next backup or what's the next this or that. And so my job, the investor is not there to say, okay, now I'm going to open my Rolodex to you and go there. My job is to make sure that we have a product that's rolling, that the investor feels engaged in, to feel like, you know what, out of everything I have going on in my life, you're worth my attention right now. And so it's a relationship, right? And so I would say we're not here without them, no, but I don't say that I'm solely dependent like a little leaf in the wind on one person. I think that would be a failure.
And how is your own company recruitment organized? I mean, how do you, I mean, you hire someone, you give them, I don't know, 1 month trial, 2 months trial, is that allowed in Germany? And then like a permanent contract? How is that?
I'm gonna keep it totally real because I respect Dirk, right? So my whole thing was this. I've changed in the last year, to be honest, because I was a little too interconnected to who I was like coming up. And so what I used to be like was, okay, even if this person isn't showing me that, I'm going to try to keep investing in them, that hopefully, you know, I'm gonna get something out of them. But now what's happened, the whole perspective change of doing this for a while now is, you know, you can teach everything, I feel, to a certain level, but you can't teach heart, you know? And the people that work with me on a daily basis, they all care about success, but they don't care about who gets the credit. And it's amazing to me, and those are what I've realized are the right type of people. So if you have somebody that's constantly being showing friction and doesn't want to roll as a whole hand, but wants to roll as a finger, you just got to get rid of them quickly, because it's like, you know, a lot of people don't understand that but I'm not, the one thing about me that's really evolved is I've learned to take it less personally, because I'm a very competitive person. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I don't like this person, whatever, this and that, but I work on that part of myself. Right? And so my main argument to that right now is if everybody's pushing in one direction and that one person isn't willing to buy in and get the ethos of total football or the way that that organization is run, then just get rid of them and let them move on, because it's not fair to them.
No, that's true.
And get them into an environment they want to be in.
But first you recruit them, so you screen them with
Yeah.
your software and everything, and then you give them a contract?
Yeah.
And
so
what does that say? Is that a permanent contract from day one?
yes. So what
Because
we
you
do
trust
is
your software?
What we do is we used to offer permanent contracts directly, but now we offer them directly with a Kündigungsfrist, like where we can kind of cancel the contract,
Yeah.
because of the fact
For
is
2 months or something.
exactly,
Yes,
because
yes.
of the fact of the matter is this. It's not that I'm saying that holistically I don't want to see like, okay, what's going to become of you. The reality is I have a ship to steer. I have other stakeholders, and the reality of this is like this, right? If I have 10, 12 people working together, and I have one person that wants to do it their way or doesn't want to listen to me, or that's the danger in startup. Understand this. Nobody talks about this. You might sometimes have to hire somebody older than you who might look at you like, ha, 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 you young punk. But it's like, dude, come on, let's not play that game, right? And so I think it's like a disease. Like if you get streptococcus, just cut it off, move on quicker. Whereas before, I used to just go, come on, man, let's do this, let's get there, because I was looking at it from my framing perspective.
Yeah.
But now I really learned that the people who give me the best vibes, the people who just make me love coming into work and smelling the air and winning together, those are the ones I want to put all my time into.
Yeah, clear.
It's very okay. It's not a problem.
No,
It makes perfect sense. So
I'm just being honest, because this is a circle of trust.
it's how we do it.
There you go.
yeah, and only watched by a couple of thousand people. But
It's Facebook. What's the worst that could happen, right?
So it's time for the entrepreneurial bucket list. Yes,
Oh,
also
yeah.
a great new format into the show. So answer quickly, please. Short. Keep it short. What's the most exciting thing you've ever done as an entrepreneur?
Hired my account management team.
What's your favorite hobby you never actually practiced in real life?
Styling things, like buying pieces of fashion and whatever, putting them together on my friends, and then telling them go to the club and give me the feedback. So
Before doing a presentation, I always...
listen to Drake.
Yeah? What song?
Hype off of the Views album. I love Drake. Drake opened up the whole lane in Toronto for somebody like me. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Your most productive day definitely involves...
Making deals happen, contracts signed, baby. ABC, always be closing.
If you would meet your role model,
Wow.
what would you do? I guess it's Michael Jordan or...
For sure. It's Michael Jordan or it's Nigo. I don't know if anybody knows Nigo here from Bathing Ape. Okay, all of this hip-hop fashion wear, all of this thing that Kanye claims is his, it's all stolen from Nigo. Look up Bape, look at this Japanese guy. He doesn't even speak English, but he's controlled the whole... Look, I'm wearing a shirt by Nigo and Billionaire Boys. This Japanese guy has controlled pop culture and hip-hop culture for over 10 years, and he's not getting his credit. So it's Michael Jordan for sure, though.
What would you ask him?
Mike, can I be great too? Can I get a shoe deal? My goal is I want to be the first like business person who's sponsored by Jordan Brand. I just shared with you guys something I dream about every morning before I get in the shower. So love me for that.
Okay. So before we go to listen to some questions from the audience, Roy, you still have something to ask
Yeah,
him?
well,
Some open ends?
Open ends. No. One thing. You know, the recruitment branch
Yeah.
worldwide
Yeah.
is up there with bankers and with real estate people,
Yeah.
insurance sales guys. I mean, it has a terrible image. How are you going to change that?
I love that question, Roy. That's the one reasons why we don't take headhunting fees. You know what? Just because we're here, I'm gonna let you guys in on a secret, okay? So the problem is that people are starting to claim ridiculous claims like we only hire the top 10% or whatever, but let's play this. Michael Jordan, let's say Van Basten, right? Were they ever leaving their teams? Were their teams like, oh, you want to leave, Marco? Here, come on, leave. No, they would give him a check and say, what's the price? Stay. So the whole point is I look at myself like Teddy Roosevelt. So when Roosevelt was giving the people the New Deal, in HR, people need the New Deal, which is I don't care about CPCs and CPMs, how much traffic is being generated through this portal. I care about the candidate experience. So I'm desperate now. I need a job. What are you going to do for me? And how are you going to get me leads that help me leverage who I am? Because there's some startup founders who are dicks, to be honest. It's like, I know I'm your only offer. Here's $500 a month, right? But the main thing is where I see the long term of what we will do is that using these systems that streamline everything we are doing, if we capture you very early, not only will say, hey, you can take this entry level job, but if you perform in that job, it can open up this job for you. And so to really give them that kind of that sports agent element to tell you, you know, you're at Ajax now, but if you perform this and that level, we'll get you to Real Madrid. That's the only step up team, FYI, for the Dutch guys. So that's the key, is that people need a people-centric system. And the difficult part about startup and also being in Europe is that to get to that vision, I have to take like smaller steps. And that's where the inner beast in me just wants to unrage on people like a wrestler, because I want to get you to that quicker. And so that's why we've holistically invested in the candidate experience, and we're constantly re-releasing our platform in different iterations. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fantastic.
So I would like to ask all of you guys here to join in on the conversation. I will stand up and come to you with the microphone. Just come up. Anybody who has a question for Mo? Yeah.
How can you scale while being so personal?
That's actually a very good question. That's the whole AI element of what we are doing, is because we take your interactions. Has anybody been on the Moberries platform? Okay, so where you log in and whatever, and you start liking or disliking jobs, it seems very basic to you, but we start to understand kind of in which area are your interests going. It's what we call the value standards test. And then using AI long term, we actually have the #1 job bot on Facebook. Haha, shout out to Facebook. He's called jobbot.me. We actually launched him to test interactions with people. So if you're sourcing a job, he'll automatically source them around the internet. And in the long term, where we'll go into conversational AI directly by integrating into features like WhatsApp, and actually you'll get smart videos that are pre-recorded from me to give you that personalized feeling, but also be able to scale with you directly. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Nice.
There was lots of fast talking in that answer, right? Did you really believe what he was saying?
If they can pull it off, I mean, I guess, you know.
I mean, look, the numbers on the board right now, right? I'm sitting in this room at a table with Dirk, right? So,
So, any more questions? You have to come up because
I mean, you can ask me like anything, you know. It doesn't have to be about business or whatnot. Like if you want a place to eat tonight, I'm business development. I know where to go.
Right. But the good thing is, of course, that we will have some food and drinks here later on, and we can also mingle amongst each other. But I think that we're almost finished, right? Heike, you want to ask one final question?
Well, maybe, you know, because the whole idea of the evening tonight is team building. This is very important for the teams here tonight. And we talked a lot about how you would, you know, like lead your team, but maybe you can say something about what is the secret sauce, especially in the founding team. What do you think is most important in the early stages of a startup team?
Okay, so two-part. I'd like to break this down in terms of how I lead our team. I don't believe in something called sunning. I believe that people should feel like their own individual. So you shouldn't walk into work. The one thing I hate, especially for people who have kids, it would be like, oh, my boss is just breathing down my throat. Work is a collaborative effort. we all work to get substantial needs for ourselves in this world, which is money to provide, but also psychological validation. So the first thing what I provide our team is if you're willing to run on the track and work as a hand, I'm just there to make sure things are getting done that I can report it to other people. In the founding team, however, to be successful, honestly, is to be unfiltered. Whenever something's going in your mind, to just share it, you know? Like, the benefit we have is we're on 24 hours. So what you'll see is that, like, okay, we leave the office, we're chilling on the couch playing Xbox or whatever, but we're still talking about, hey, what did that person do today? How did they do? What is this? What is that? So that we're always on. So we're just in it. We don't always need a meeting to have something, right? Second of all is to everybody check their egos. You know, like, if we all understood who we were, and I think that's playing to your strengths, you know, I'm clearly a mouthpiece. I'm clearly the rugged little, that little animal that's gonna go at you, right? But, you know, our CEO, he's probably one of the best people at admin. He also understands vision. It's to say like, okay, Mo, no, that's noise right now. Let's focus on this. And to not have your ego shattered by being like, whoa, he just said my idea was stupid, you know? Because it's probably not the right idea right now. And so to know what my place in this whole mission is. The problem I think nowadays is everybody's parent tells them, oh, you're so special, you're so great, you're so amazing, you're gonna take over the world. But you're just not, because you can't do anything by yourself. Show me one empire that's had one king that made it rise by himself and it stayed intact, right? And so for me to understand, look, I'm not supposed to be the point man, I'm mainly the shooter. And then at times when I walk into the room with the technical people, I can give them my understanding, I can give them my perspectives, but I also know when to shut up, right? And that's the key part. And when somebody tells me, no, that's not key, that's not that, to not get an ego about it, go home and be bitter or like start chatting with people about it. No, it's just fall in line, because everybody's bought into the same thing and your success will become my success. And so if we all believe that, you know, we're all pitching for the same win.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Mo
having me.
Moubarak, give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for this founder
Thanks
of
for having me.
Moberries.
Wow, that was fun. I gotta do this more. Thanks, guys.
It was super fun.
Great. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was super that you were here. Now we're going to enjoy ourselves, have some cold drinks, and mingle amongst each other with the other founders. Yes.
Can I just add something real quick
Yes,
before we
of
shut it?
course, of course.
Everybody, please get behind Friday at 6. Make sure you support. Dirk's been holding it down for the community since ages. I mean, like I said, I was a worker in a sales department watching him through a YouTube channel. So I need Berlin. I need everybody to get behind this guy because he's got a huge vision and a lot of big news is going to come out soon. All right. So this is just the beginning of the new wave. Get ready for it.
Thank you so much. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Pleasure.
That was fun, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was
very
fun.
much.
Dank u wel. Dank u
Thank
wel. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys, for being a great audience. That's great. There we go.
Okay, let's get something to drink.
Yeah, let's enjoy.
So